morning, guys. So today's lesson corresponds to the homework 214, activities 4, 5, and 6 that you're seeing in the grade link. And so we're going to continue talking about the perfect tense. What did I say yesterday? There's nothing perfect about the perfect tense. It's one of the past tenses. Very simply, what's the difference between man, shooting pins all over the place. I studied and I have studied. Well, there's a slight difference between those two. It's very slight. They're different past tenses, okay? So this is the simple past tense. Remember that the simple past tense in English is usually signified with an ed, and this is the perfect tense. It's a past tense also. It uses a compound form. So we have the verb have, and then you have, looks like the same, right? But it actually, in the brain, signals something slightly different. So anyhow, so yesterday we were looking at how this compound tense has an antecedent, and some of you know them as helping verbs, but it's the same thing, so the antecedent. So here's the funny thing, you may not be aware of this, but the antecedent in English is have. Okay, have is a verb that has two jobs, actually. One of its jobs is to work as an antecedent, and the other job is to indicate, basically possess, like I have a pen. Okay, so I possess a pen. It's not 100% synonymous, but kind of the idea. Whereas here, this I have wanted, this does not mean I possess wanted. No, it's a completely different job. Its job here is to signify the perfect tense. These two together make the perfect tense. I'm just going to abbreviate it, perfect. Well, it turns out that the same antecedent in English, there's a different antecedent in Spanish, but the different verb has two jobs, just like the English. Okay, so the one job, I showed you the conjugations yesterday for the antecedent. It's has, hemos, on. Those are the antecedents for the perfect tense. What's the infinitive that they're derived from? The infinitive is haber. Okay, now haber, we know, is used to mean I. So I means there is, or there are. So hay café, there's coffee. Oh, praise the Lord. We don't want to be around without coffee. I'm glad that there's coffee. Que me alegro que hay café. Okay, hay café. So that's one job of haber. But the other job of haber, and it's different conjugations. This is where it gets strange. This is present tense for one job, and this is the present tense conjugation for the other job as an antecedent. So has, hemos, on corresponds to yo, tú, él, nosotros, ellos. So we have, for example, translated, I have wanted, he querido. So we recognize ido. We're like, oh, that's a participle, man. I recognize it because it ends ido. And so this is the antecedent. So I have wanted. Okay, so that's just curious that both in English and in Spanish, the verb that's used for the antecedent has a second job with an actual meaning. It's not just used as a helping verb or an antecedent. And the other interesting thing is that the verb that gets used for the antecedent in English is not the same verb that gets used for the antecedent in Spanish. How do we translate have in Spanish? Tener, right? Well, tener is not used for the perfect tense. Haber is used for the perfect tense. So it's a different verb, but both of them have two jobs. So that's just kind of interesting. That might help us to not get confused at some point in time. Today I want to start looking at irregular participles, okay? So, and they're really not that irregular because the original verb is leer, and our rules are you get rid of the er and you put ido on the end. The only change that I'm doing is I'm putting an accent mark, leído. And why am I putting an accent mark? For spelling reasons, for spelling and pronunciation reasons. Remember, if you have two vowels and they don't have an accent mark, you have a diphthong, which means you pronounce them together. If this were written like without the accent mark, it would be pronounced ladle, ladle. So that you don't pronounce the diphthong, the fusion of two vowels, you separate them by putting an accent mark on it. It's 2 syllables. 3 syllables. Leído, leído. Yo he leído, I have read. He leído, I have read, okay? Caído comes from caer. Caer is to fall. And again, follows the rules. ER verb, so it's going to get the ido ending. And I'm just putting an accent mark. That's all I'm doing. It's not really that irregular. Creer is the original verb. Creído is believed. Okay, so if you want to say, we have believed in Jesus Christ. Hemos creído en Jesucristo. Hemos creído. Oído, the original verb is oír, so this is heard. He has heard. Él ha oído. And then this is a new verb for us. Reído comes from the verb reír. Notice that the original infinitive has an accent mark in it. Okay, that means to laugh. Reír. So if you want to say, we have laughed, hemos reído. There it is, hemos reído. Okay, that means I have laughed. So I think this is activity 6 in your homework. No, it's activity 5 in your homework. Okay, this is the sentence from the modelo. It says, el doctor ha leído mi historial médico. That means the doctor has read my medical history. So all the different things in the past, he gets the records from the previous doctor. He's your new doctor, so he reads up on you, and so he knows all your past history. So there it is, el doctor ha leído. Okay, one more thing I wanted to say, and that is, right here, this looks like it says has, but remember, this is going to be translated have, and this is going to be translated has in English. Okay, because it just could be confusing, right? We're using a different verb for the antecedent. So the conjugations are a, as. That as tells us to. The lack of the s means it's third person singular. That's el, a. In English, has gets used for the third person singular. So don't get those confused. These two guys, don't get them confused. No. All right, I've completely destroyed my board, and hopefully that's all clear. We'll catch you next time. See you guys.